Before we get into things, of course, we have to talk about Tabs chocolate. Can you give us a short, brief introduction? Because I know you've done it on many podcasts before. If anyone doesn't know, they
Yeah,
should definitely check out your YouTube and Instagram. But take it away.
yeah,
Just
thank
a
you, bro.
2 minute.
Sure. So Tabs is essentially an edible for sex. It's a chocolate. There are three squares in a box, and it's a super high-end luxury. Basically, we crafted an amazing experiential product. We don't sell chocolate; we sell the best out of your life. In terms of kind of going a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, in essence, we took the most popular and effective natural supplements that usually come in a pill or powder format, and transformed it into kind of a more fun, less taboo, less stigmatized, and less
Yeah,
pharmaceutical experience.
definitely.
Um, and as a result, we've been able to kind of come in and really flip this market on its head by offering something that people want to share with their partner. Each square breaks in
Definitely.
half, rather than something that people are afraid to admit that they're even taking to begin with.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely killing those taboos is such an interesting path of marketing, which is what I wanted to talk about next. If anyone doesn't know enough about Tabs, they should definitely check it out. But what really interests me about you is the way that you marketed this. You sort of reversed engineered the TikTok algorithm, even though no one really knows how it works. You've sort of figured out virality is the key to selling because the more eyeballs you get, the more conversions you get. I don't know if I'm taking the words out of your mouth here,
Absolutely.
if I'm
No, no,
but I would really like to hear more about the virality side of marketing and the problems that have come with it and the things that you've had to overcome in terms of marketing.
yeah, that's I mean, you're spot on, man. People always ask me like, how did you end up like selling sex chocolate? That's crazy. It's wild, and it is.
Yeah.
And while I do like sex and I do like chocolate, it's
Mm,
not like this was like a super crazy product that hit close to home or
of
addressed
course.
some sort
I
of pain
mean,
point. For me, it was like a vehicle to go viral.
definitely. It's 100% a vehicle. Took the words out of my mouth. It's not about the product or necessarily the business, but the idea of how to gain success through e-commerce, through the endless opportunities of the internet and the short form content that is
Absolutely.
on every social media platform now. Can you talk more about the opportunities there and
Yeah.
more specifically the virality?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and like exactly, like going back to kind of how we started this conversation, what do you define success? Well, part number one is like setting myself up like financially for life, and so that's kind of how I saw Tabs. So it's like this was going to be, my way to get out of the hood. For
Mm,
me, the hood was the University of Michigan Ross, not quite the hood,
yeah.
but like I actually dropped out of college last year. I'm like full time working on my business. It's growing really nicely, and it's been a blessing. But in terms of like to kind of more to answer your question in regards to virality, like you said, most companies start with a product and they try to market it. For me, like my skill set was viral marketing. My skill set was TikTok.
Mm,
Before Tabs, I was heading up growth and partnerships for an app and brought it to number 4 on the social networking charts, right behind
wow.
Facebook and Instagram. We were like a team of 6. And after that, when I was like 18, I was one of the people. I didn't have ownership in the company, but I was one of the people that was behind the viral TikTok leggings, the
Mm,
ripple woven booty lifting leggings that blew up on TikTok. So,
yeah.
after like being very experienced and having a lot of time spent in that space and realizing the unprecedented opportunity on this short form platform in terms of leveraging virality to get, insane number of eyeballs and reach that would normally cost millions of dollars in paid advertising spend. Like I was like,
100%.
I want to build a product that can go viral by itself. And
Mm,
so, that's what Tabs is. It's super edgy and shareable, and it splits in half for each partner, and so
mm,
you're able to kind of understand how it works in like a 3 second like snippet or soundbite. I
yeah.
had a content creator that I work with who told me like even a monkey can make Tabs go viral. Like it's that easy. Like the creators love working with my product because
It's a
of
very visual
how well
product.
how well it performs.
Yeah, it's very
Exactly.
visual. You can understand it in seconds, like what you're looking at in short form, and the attention span of the people on TikTok. I feel like they can grasp it straight away, which is something very important.
Super important for short form. And like
Yeah,
when we run
it's
our influencer like ads, oftentimes we see our influencers get more views on the sponsored post that they post about our product than they do on their native organic content, which
mm,
just goes to show like how how powerful having the right product is. And it also like proved that like we had a really good model in terms of building a
Mm,
product for virality instead of trying to market an existing product.
definitely, definitely. Can you talk more about working with the influencers specifically? Because for people who don't know, you worked originally with a bunch of micro influencers, and there's a lot of problems with scaling that, of course. And then you moved on
Yeah,
to getting one influencer, paying them to run your page, and then scaling that up, of course. Can you talk more about that for people that don't know?
yeah, absolutely. You do your research. Dave knows
Come
my
on.
story better than I know. Uh, but yeah, so initially when I first started off, like the goal was to work with micro influencers. Why micro influencers? Well, in my opinion, they're the best bang for your buck. When you work with the bigger dogs, like you're paying them a lot of money for their brand name, for their manager, for the agency that is charging 3x their normal rates. Like, and so I didn't want to deal with all that. It was too expensive. The ROI wasn't there. My goal was to work with the smaller guys, find the undervalued assets, pay them a tiny amount of money, give them a free product, and get them to post about you. The reality is that TikTok is the Wild West, and they've democratized the ability to go viral. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers.
Definitely.
There's a lot of opportunity on the platform. So my goal was, listen, I want to work with the micro guys, and I want to work with as many as I possibly
Yeah.
could, to blow this thing up. There were a lot of problems. The biggest is logistics.
Yeah.
The vast majority
Definitely.
of influencers, um, they don't respond to you. They just ghost you. So let's say out of 100 emails you send, 50%, 50 of them just never will even respond to you. You send them emails,
Yeah.
you send them text messages, you send them DMs. They're unresponsive. Of those that do respond, half of them charge like ridiculous rates. Of those that charge like decent rates, many of them will just like accept free product, and then they'll steal the product, and they'll never end up posting about you. And so it just became like this nightmare to tackle and scale out. And despite building out like a team of like 8 different people that were scraping influencers, sending mass emails across
Hmm.
12 different domains, and even automating the whole entire system with like
Yeah.
Zapier and like different flows that were built. So when the chocolate got delivered, the influencer would get a specific email, like all automated. Like, just everything that we could do, I couldn't crack it. And so
Yeah.
initially, like the sales,
O- On paper, that
if you look at like,
sounds like the most efficient way of doing things. But of course,
right,
these problems arise logistically. Yeah. So what did
exactly,
you do?
exactly, and yeah, so like when you looked at my sales in the earliest days, it was kind of like a roller coaster, right? Like
Uh-huh.
we'd have an influencer that would post, we'd have a good day, and then the next day, like the sales would fall back to zero. And
Mm.
that's like not how you build a sustainable brand. That's not how you build a brand with longevity.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, what I need to do is figure out how I can consistently put out content. And that's when I hired a content creator. So I hired somebody to run one account, one brand page, and instead of posting like once to their owned audience, they're going to start a brand new page called Tabs Chocolate. They're going to be the face of it, and they're going to post 1 to 3 videos every single day, day in, day out. In our first month, I brought on a guy. He generated like about $70,000 to $80,000 in sales, and I was like, "This is the way. How do I scale this?"
Mm.
And what I did is instead of bringing on more content creators and adding them to the page, I expanded horizontally, bringing on as many creators as I
Yeah.
possibly could and setting them up with their own independent page. And as a result, now if you look up Tabs Chocolate and you go to users, there are hundreds of pages. A lot of them are inactive, a lot of them are dead, just because we're constantly hiring new creators, firing old creators. Accounts are getting shadow banned, and we're having to create new accounts, and so it's this kind of constant game. But listen, like if you go to a creator, like it's almost like the Andrew Tate model, right?
Yeah.
Where we have just like so many people that are posting things every day, and I can't tell you what's going to hit, but inevitably things go viral, and we get a
Exactly.
lot of views, and we drive a lot of revenue.
Like you say, it's a total black box. So just share content and consistent content from different kinds of people and different kinds of pages. It's extremely interesting. Further to that point, after that, you began doing affiliate marketing, which I found very interesting as well. And I think,
Yeah.
like, do you think you should have started with that maybe? Because it's much more of an incentive for creators to consistently create good content about your product.
Yeah, yeah, it's again, in theory it sounds amazing, right? Like start off with affiliate marketing, whatever. The problem is that it's hard to get buy-in from people,
Mhm.
especially initially. Uh, so like to get
'Cause
somebody to come to your company and be like, hey, I'm not going to pay you any money, and you only make
Mhm.
money when you make me money. Like it's a bit of a hard sell, especially like if they're not a
Definitely.
great creator, or like it takes a couple months for like things to start popping off. Like nobody wants to work for free. Nobody wants to work and put in slave hours and not get paid. So the affiliate model kind of it transformed naturally and organically, where initially I was bringing on creators on a retainer, and I was renegotiating, and then we moved to like a hybrid of like super small retainer, enough where like they're happy if nothing happens, but not a crazy amount of money, and then giving them a percentage of all the upside. And through that model, I've had influence. I've had creators that are making tens of thousands of dollars a month, and they're driving hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for me. So it's a win-win.
Would you say that's the key to the longevity and consistent sales, or would you have any other insights into the longevity of a business?
Yeah, I think like if you want to create longevity in a business, you have to have fail safes, and you need to be well diversified, right? So what happens if TikTok goes down tomorrow, right? And by the way, like that's a real concern. First of all, we get banned on pages all the time, and second of all, like you even see it in the news where like the U.S. government like is banning TikToks in states, colleges, whatever. There's talks about like the Congress having a hearing with Shao, the CEO of TikTok, right? So it's like what happens if TikTok goes to the ban? Does our business die? So it's like, okay, like we need to diversify. Like that was super important, not just in terms of like doomsday preparation, but also in terms of like building an amazing business. Instead of being over reliant on one channel, when you're like an octopus and you have your tentacles on 12 different channels and you start to grow 12 different channels, all of a sudden, it's 10%, 5%, 20%, and you're lifting incrementally every month. That's how you build a multi-million-dollar brand. Like, I would for sure say it's important to find like your strong suits and like look at the 80-20 rule and focus on what's driving the bulk of the revenue and the value. But at the end of the day, to build like a real like viable like company with longevity, it's important that you're not just doing one thing well, but you're doing everything well. And so that's been like the biggest unlock, where now we're crushing on email and text message, and we have an amazing Google Ads media buyer, and I'm starting to run Facebook ads, and I do a lot on Instagram and Twitter, and I work with it's like so many different pieces of the business going, because if you can unlock small incremental like boosts compounded and in the aggregate, it turns into massive impact.
Definitely. Very interesting. Before we get into your personal brand, which is something I'm very excited to talk about, I just want to know what went through the process of that first year before you had even made a final product and you put all your money on the line without even knowing if it's going to be successful, doing surveys like the traditional business route. What was going through your head? What was the business plan? Did it sort of fall into place, or did you like say day one, this is what I want to get done, 1 year from now I want to be here? Sort of take me through that first year.
Yeah, that's a good question. Listen, I've been in the space since I was 14 years old, and I've been living and breathing like building brands and selling shit on and just building on the internet, really. It truly is the Wild West. It's a crazy place. But in terms of this brand, what happened is like it's in order to understand Tabs, it's important to understand the background. And before Tabs, I was kind of heading up this leggings brand, and we were killing it on TikTok and just killing it overall. But what happened is everybody and their mother started selling the same stuff as us, because we didn't create the leggings. We were just private labeling, meaning we were just sticking our logo on it, ordering inventory, and then selling it online. And so when it started to blow up, 300 other people started selling the same exact pair of leggings. The market got incredibly competitive and saturated, and the business died as soon as it blew up. And so after that experience, I was like, whatever I do next, I want to build a product that has high barriers to entry. I want to build an amazing product that people can't just rip off and duplicate, but something that has a moat around it. Because if I owned that leggings market, I'd be on a beach in Tulum. But I didn't, right? Like, So I was like, whatever I do next, I need to own the industry. I need to own the category, and it needs to be something that's viral. And so that was kind of like my mission from the get-go. In terms of
and reverse engineering that from there.
Exactly, reverse engineering that from
there. That's a great plan, and everything else just falls into place, I guess, and hard work, of course.
So then everything else falls into place. Listen, like you don't need to be a genius to look up chocolate co-manufacturers and call the first 300 results on Google. You don't need to be a genius to go on Alibaba and find a box manufacturer. Listen, I'm somebody that preaches this, and I firmly believe this. It's not about like intelligence. It's not about like IQ. It's do you want it? Are you hungry? And do you have enough experience and intuition? If you have the experience and you have the hunger, you're destined for success. I believe that.
And one more point before we get onto your brand, which is very interesting. I'd like to know about the user experience, the customer experience, and the packaging, everything that goes into the packaging. It has such a sleek look, you know, it's a nice brick. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm sure you get many returning customers just because of that. I would like to know about the packaging and also about the actual product. What do you think drives more returning customers, the product or the packaging?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the packaging is what drives the initial purchase.
Okay.
Like at the end of the
It's
day,
very
like,
sexy and appealing, you know, I
yeah.
want one.
Listen, it's one of those things where it's like people can't touch the chocolate, people can't taste the chocolate, people don't know if it works or it doesn't work. They see it online and they form a judgment. It's like when you first like meet a person, or you first like you first meet a person. First impressions are everything. Like just based off the look, like you're making judgments as to like, you know, is this guy cool or is this guy not cool? Is this guy like, you know, like based off of the way that he dresses, based on the way that he looks, based on the way that he carries himself. And the same thing translates to, you know, the branding and the packaging for you know, products. Because they can't tell like how good the product is, but what they can tell is the outside of it. And they can, and so it's very important that you're able to, you know, differentiate yourself from the hundreds of other players in your market by building something that stands out. There's a really good test, right, where it's like if you put it on a shelf with, you know, against all your competition, like, or you put it on the shelf, like, would people's eyes gravitate to it? Would people like, would it stand out, or would it just like, you know, fall in with the rest of the herd? So the packaging is what gets us to acquire the first customer. Now, if the product isn't good, the customer's not coming back. They're not going to buy because it was a nice box, right? Maybe initially they're like, the box was intriguing. They're willing to try it out because it was a nice box. But after that, the product needs to stand by itself. Definitely. And if you have an amazing product, you have a brand that's going to win long term, because every customer that you acquire ends up ordering from you multiple times. They tell their friends talk about it, and it creates this flywheel, like domino effect that becomes incredibly powerful.
Let's now get up to date with where you're at. So you've done as much as you can with Tabs as you could have in the last couple of years, and now you seem to be focusing on your own personal brand and building just your connections in every which way. How important do you think it is to build a personal brand for yourself?
Right.
In the e-commerce
space. I want to make a distinction. I'm still very focused on my brand. I'm focused on my other business ventures.
Of course.
In fact, my personal brand is for sure secondary. A lot of people focus on their personal brand, like they're a YouTuber, they're a content creator, they're not a business guy. Okay. Yeah. You know, for me, like I don't have to sit down and go on a journal or whiteboard and come up with ideas for YouTube videos or come up with ideas for tweets. I'm just talking about what's going on. It's like when you saw, right? When you saw a piece of wood, you have a bunch of sawdust. The sawdust is like, for me, like my personal brand is the sawdust. Like I'm fucking attacking that. Like, and you know, I have so much to talk about. I have so much to tweet about. I have so much to make content about, because every single day I'm in the trenches, you know, building businesses. Definitely. So I want to preface this by saying, like, I'm a business guy first, and now I'm starting to build a personal brand and the content stuff second. Now, what I will say is that the content and the personal brand is incredibly powerful, and it also feeds my main business. Almost every hire that I've made is somebody that I found on Twitter, or is through a connection that I've made with somebody from Twitter that recommended it back. Okay. So like my whole entire team of, you know, 11 plus people, like I have Twitter to thank for it. And these guys are the top of the top fucking killers. And then B, like I'm just constantly meeting new people, networking, and, you know, finding myself with like opportunities that fall into my lap, just because, you know, I'm able to like basically get in front of so many eyeballs through leverage. Like if I were to have to like meet as many people as I've met on Twitter, it would take me decades of networking events and flying around, like literally decades, tens of years. And I do that every single day by putting out content, you know, sitting on the toilet, right? Like it's insane. The leverage on it is insanity.
Yeah, the opportunities of the internet have almost been forgotten on our generation. It is absolutely endless, as you say. I remember when I met you for the first time and we got some unbelievable tacos in the Shook. I mean, you have VCs messaging you on Twitter saying, "Let me take you out for lunch. Let's discuss this, that." It's absolutely endless. So, what is the goal? What is the goal with the personal brand?
Yeah, I don't know what the goal of the personal brand is. What I do know is how powerful and impactful it is. And so like I don't have like this like hey, like this is what I want to get out of it today. This is what I want to get out of it in 10 years. Because I think that things are dynamic, things are always evolving and changing.
Definitely.
But I know that this is an asset that I want to cultivate and build. That will probably be like one of my most valuable things that I ever do, and will create a long-lasting legacy because I will have it for life.
Amazing. Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you so
And
much for your insight.
and oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, no,
You're
just to
not
add one other
finished.
thing, it's also like it goes beyond me, like my personal brand and like my social media. It's like I'm inspiring like the next generation of entrepreneurs. Every
Definitely.
day I get messages from kids saying like, dude, like I'm dealing with this situation at home, and you completely changed my perspective. Or my parents are on my ass about college, and I hate college. And I've always been into business, and
Mm,
you inspired me to take this leap. Like, do you know how impactful and how amazing that feels? Like you can't put a dollar value on that. Like,
definitely, man.
so anyway, yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
It's a
But
good place to wrap
dude,
it up. But before we
yeah,
finish,
go ahead.
I want to know how you're finding Israel. Oliver's now in one of the top Israel internship programs in the world, let's say. Enjoying
Yeah,
Tel Aviv, enjoying the food.
loving it, bro.
Yeah.
Loving it, bro.
Any
It's a
highlights?
blast. The people are incredible. Any highlights? It's so hard to say like one thing in particular, but I'm
Mm,
really enjoying it here. It's a beautiful city, amazing people,
mm,
and I've been able to have the luxury of now like seeing it through a resident, like a local's perspective, rather than a traveler's. I've met
definitely.
some of the most amazing people, so
Mm,
enjoying every moment and trying to balance work and
mm,
business and the social life, and
beautiful.
but it's been great. And
Uh,
shout out Dave for taking me out
thank
and
you so much
introducing me to
for.
people and showing me around. So it's been a blast.
Thank you so much. Last thing, any words of advice for anyone listening?
My words of advice. My words of advice is to do what you love. Don't get forced into doing something because everybody around you is telling you that that's the way to go. The reality is that times has changed. What our parents take for conventional wisdom and what everybody tells you in school and everybody around you that if you want to be successful you need to do XYZ is a load of hogwash. I know 14-year-old degenerates that are pulling $500,000 a month, doing stupid shit on the internet. Okay,
Yeah,
and so the reality is that like if you guys, anybody listening to this, if you saw what I saw, and you like understood like the time that we lived in and the space that we were at, you would understand almost immediately uh, that you'd be foolish not to jump on the opportunity and do something online, whether that's create content, whether it's to start a YouTube channel, a TikTok page, whether it's to build a brand online, whether it's to build a software, like, whatever it is. There are no barriers to entry. There's unlimited free education on YouTube, on Twitter, on social media if you follow the right people. And I really, really believe that it's never been easier than today to do something. And so, I implore you to challenge your beliefs, to challenge what your parent or teacher or somebody might be telling you, and to put yourself out there and to try. And you're probably not going to be successful. You're not going to make $1 million in your first month or day or year, or even might be 5, 10 years. Who knows? But what I can say is that if you stick with it long enough and you don't give up, like I have full confidence and belief that it's inevitable that you won't succeed. So I think we can leave it at that. Dave,
captivating
thank you so much for
words.
having me on.
Thank you
And
so much for being on.
yeah,
All right, it's ended now, but before we like dip, I'm saying I'm having some people at mine tonight. What are you saying? Getting some
I'm
girls
down.
around. It'll be good fun. Lovely.
I'll be there, bro.
Oliver, you're a king. Thank you so much for being on.
Anytime, bro. Thanks for having me, bro.
Lots of
Much
love.
love.
Have a good one.
Yes.
Bye.